So we're live. Make sure you're back. No, green is good. All right, calling this meeting to order. In accordance with Section 5 of the Open Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Laws, 1975, be advised that notice of this meeting was made by posting on the bulletin board, Town Hall, and serving the officially designated newspapers. A notice stating that this meeting would take place at Town Hall at 7:30 p.m. on December 7th of 2023. My name is Zach Davis. I'm the vice chair. The chair, Allison Canfield, is sick, and she apologizes for not being here tonight. A couple folks are sick, so that is why I'm running the meeting tonight. So first we'll start with the roll call, I guess.
Yep. Mrs. Canfield is not here. Mr. Davis?
Yep.
Mrs. Escobar?
Yes.
Mrs. Gaylord?
Yes.
Mr. Frankel?
Here.
Mrs. Wanga is not here. Mrs. Black?
Here.
And Mr. Kramer is not here.
I just have a couple announcements. Like I said, Ms. Canfield is sick today. I wanted to just raise awareness to folks that a week or two ago, Mary McNett, who was a long-term serving individual in this community, served here on the Historic Preservation Commission. She also served as in the town committee. A very important person passed away right before Thanksgiving, and I just wanted to make note of that. I think next month, January, we'll have some note of her contributions to preservation in town, but a very important person. Please remember her. Also note, today's December 7th, so hopefully people remember the historic significance of that date. Hopefully that hasn't faded. And also first day of Hanukkah, so for those celebrating, enjoy your Hanukkah. But I guess we're going to start with approving the meeting minutes from the last meeting, which was October 5th. So hopefully everyone's received those. Do I have a motion to approve those meeting minutes?
Motion. Second.
Yeah, second, yeah. And we could just take a verbal on that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. I can't vote for this matter. So. All right, great. So those are passed. And then the first item on the agenda is old business, and this is a continuation of application 557. This is 88 Stewart Road, block 3104, lot 7. This is a non-contributing property in the Short Hills Park Historic District. John Gesundterman as the applicant. Are you present? No. Great. Okay. So they were sworn in last time. They still need to be sworn in again, or continuation?
Yes, and still on the road, right?
Sure.
Okay.
We're attorneys.
All right.
Have to be sworn.
But they all were sworn in. They all were sworn in last time. So
Yeah.
should be all right. If you want to approach and please present the continuation of your application. Do you need it? Don't kill yourself.
Good evening. I'm the architect of record, Maria DeCosmo.
You were also sworn in for that.
I was. We added a sheet. You have small pictures, but these are enlarged pictures. This is what the house was original in 2003. So you could see that from its original state, we did some renovations to it to bring it up to what it looks like today, which we felt was more historically in keeping with the district and the neighborhood. The modifications that the Guntermans are looking for are to finish the stone driveway, circular driveway in the front. And a major item is to increase the width of the porte-cochere. The original design had a porte-cochere and they built it too narrow. So even though it's there and the Guntermans have this nice sized rear yard, the cars can't pass through the porte cochere. So right now, the cars remain in the front of their home. So we propose to increase the width of porte cochere so that the cars can actually pass through and reside in a garage and not in sight of the corner and the neighborhood. It is a corner lot, so as Stewart Road bends, you have full view of all the vehicles at the Gutman's residence. The other proposal is to increase the patio just enough so that the lifestyle can be maintained on one level, so that there can be eating and cooking and outdoor life on one level versus that there's a covered terrace and a little bit of area here, but because of the stairwell and the size of what is existing, there's really not enough for both. And then the addition of the garage, which we kept in keeping with the home and the character of the home and the neighborhood to be more like a carriage house, which can be viewed on A4. And the Guntemans are also requesting if a pool, which is a typical backyard element in the neighborhood. So I believe that what we have proposed does preserve the surrounding historical aesthetics. And I do believe that, God bless you, what we're asking for will increase the value of the home and the neighborhood just by the fact that the cars will be removed from the front of the home. And he plans on, as requested by the board, he plans on increasing the landscaping, which was an added L1. We were asked to cite all the existing shrubberies and landscaping, trees, and to add to the existing property. It will, be embellished by an actual landscape architect, but this is the general idea of enclosing or, visually isolating the rear yard. We, on the following page, on the previous page, as asked by the board, we have listed all the materials used in the project. They are all matching existing, but here they're itemized and let you know exactly what the materials are that we'll be using. And in the driveway will be bordered and accented by the cobblestone in the front and by the front entry and under the porte cochere. So it'll have nice accents to break up the typical asphalt surface. And I'd be happy to walk you through the project, but I felt that perhaps since this is our second time around, maybe you were already familiar with it. This here is the extension of the porte cochere by about 2 feet. This is the extension of the patio from here back. This is the two-car garage, which has a side room for the pool equipment, to house the pool equipment. And you can see that we tried to minimize the surface area that was used for the driveway by what was actually needed for the car to turn around and get out of the driveway and nothing more. Pool area, and of course the materials.
You had sent an email to Barton, and you had 3 points that you had raised in there. Can I just read those to you, and maybe go through those point by point? One was that the fence layout has been pulled inward from the property line with the existing trees and shrubs at the street masking the fence, and that says see sheet A1. So what you're saying, the fence has been pulled inward, so previously it was further.
It was on the property line.
Okay,
So now what we've done is, there's like 2 layers of shrubbery, landscaping, and the fence will sit in between.
okay, that's great. Two
So
is, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Really, the only place that it might be visible is in the front, but they also have curb shrubbery that screens it.
Yeah, and I think your existing plan, for the landscaping plan, gives us some details. Adding some shrubs or plantings in that line of sight, looks like, too. Let's see, number 2, the metal fence design has a more traditional look with vertical pickets concluding with a finial on top of the pickets. See sheet 8.6. The height of the fence is 6 feet. So what changed then with that fence design?
I think it was just a graphic.
Oh, all right.
It was a graphic the last time that was not appealing. We really didn't choose a fence. It was more that it was an aluminum type of fence that was actually very prominent in the neighborhood. And it was taken literally. So this time we actually gave you a fence that'll have pickets, and we took out the stone piers, and we're just going to have stone piers at the prominent points like the 4 corners, and of course the gate.
Oh, I see. And then, all right, so the last point is the majority of the masonry piers have been removed, and there's only 3 piers. So are you talking
That's
about
what I meant.
the fence? Okay, all right, thank you, that was clear as up for me. Was there anything else you wanted to bring up?
No, we actually just combed over all your comments and made sure they were all addressed. And we hope that you see that we think that it is absolutely in keeping with what is there now, the existing home, the neighborhood, and it will only improve this site in the area versus anything else. And no material is new to the site except for the fence and what will be around the pool. But all the siding, the stonework, it's all existing, reworked or reused.
Do they want to?
They are more than.
I mean, if you have anything to
Only
add.
if you
yeah.
want. If
Yeah.
you want to hear something from us, I'm happy.
No, if you wanted to contribute anything, you're certainly welcome to. Or if you,
Do you have anything else?
No, I think I would just say that, we were here in October, we try to implement everything you guys asked us to implement, so hopefully this is good.
we'll open up to my commissioners and Jessica.
Yeah, I know I had asked this, but it's been a while since. Can you just refresh my memory? Will you need zoning approval for any of this stuff that you're?
Yes, we have some
doing?
coverage issues.
Okay. What specifically?
We're over in coverage.
Coverage, okay. Not.
And side yard setback on the porte cochere.
Okay.
So the porte cochere, if you make it just so that the car can actually squeeze through,
Mhm.
it's really not, it's not humanly, it's not graceful.
Yeah.
You actually have to give it a little bit of room. So the whole idea about a porte cochere, and so that it is actually used properly, you do need a little bit of breathing room. So we're asking for that here. But it's just being extended. It's not being redone, the same columns, the same materials, everything.
So what's the difference that you're looking for? 5
We're
feet,
looking-
6 feet?
Oh, no, I believe it's 3 feet, 3'6".
Anything else, Justin?
No, that's it.
Rob? Okay. Karen, anything else you want? No. Mary? No. Yeah, that was one question I had was the width, the widening, but obviously you're moving closer to your neighbor's line, so that's the zoning adjustment that they'll need. I mean, I appreciate what you've done, putting all this together. The materials are great. You can see everything up front. Yes, what we're looking for and, a complete application. So I think we're fine with this and, so I'd ask for a motion to approve the application.
Motion to approve.
All right, and second?
Second.
All right, Jessica, who can actually vote on this? Were we,
Well, I think now that everybody can because you're.
what's a continuation of and I think Karen
I wasn't here.
wasn't here for
You weren't
the
here.
September meeting. Yeah.
But because it's a continuation, can they vote on it now because they're presenting that continuation?
No, not unless you've read the transcript. So,
So it's Jessica, Rob, Zach,
Mary,
Mary wasn't here either, so it's the three of them.
Well, we can
That's
pass
fine.
it. So,
Okay.
all right.
So,
Motion.
Motion
Second.
All right.
so
Take a vote then.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Esquivel, you're gonna abstain.
Okay, same.
Mrs. Gaylord, you're as well gonna abstain. Mr. Frankel
Yes.
and Mrs. Black.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good luck with the project. Thank you for coming back with the details.
We appreciate your time.
Sure. Thank you.
So am I allowed to speak now?
All right, so next, moving on to new business now on the agenda, we have application number 565. This is 56 Chestnut Street, block 306, lot 5, a non-contributing property in the Wyoming Historic District. Amarinda Kumar and Nandita Singh applicants, and I realize I didn't read the prior description, so I read this. This is a regulatory application for various exterior improvements, including new 2-story addition with attached garage and driveway on the left side of the property, and new rear upper deck and other landscape modifications.
We're here.
Yeah, great. Please come up and you need to be sworn in. So just state your name and
Yeah,
Janine will tell you what to do.
sure.
state.
Douglas Miller, AHM Architects, Millburn, New Jersey.
I'm Amrendra Kumar Singh, the applicant. My wife couldn't be here. She had to take care of the kids.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you provide in the application tonight in this condition is true and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Okay, go right ahead.
Thanks everyone for your time. Just thought to take a moment to introduce myself. We recently moved to the neighborhood. My wife and I, we spent more than a decade in England. So we had almost settled down there, bought a beautiful cottage there, but finally, because of our son, we had to move back to, he had some medical needs. So we decided to eventually move back to New Jersey, where we have some friends there. So we found this beautiful neighborhood, and we bought the house last year. And after buying the house, we realized that the house had some potential. So we thankfully we got in touch with Doug, and he has been helping us hopefully reach the potential for the house, and he will give us the details of what we are hoping to accomplish, and happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Good evening. I have a rendering I'd like to hand out to everybody. I don't know if you've seen it. Barton sent out a memo, but it didn't have the rendering attached, so I just need to hand it out to everyone.
Thank you. Thanks.
Oh, you do have it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
There was an image attached. Yeah.
Thanks.
I need one else.
Yes, she
is.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I need one. It's on this, right?
I think it's the same. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's fine. Okay.
I didn't realize.
Oh,
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry. We have redundant images. So, as Amar said, he came to me with the goal of improving the house, to enlarge it for their growing family, to really just modernize it and bring it up to the standards of what people expect in a house nowadays. First off, I read through Mr. Ross's comments and his feedback, and I'll get through that throughout my presentation. If possible, I'd like to separate this application into two parts. The first part being like overall style and massing of the house, and secondly, the materials. I think it would be easier just to talk about them separately. So in the background, the house is at 56 Chestnut Street. It's in the Wyoming Historic District. It's a non-contributing property. And if you look at the ticket that the HPC originally put out, it really it says specifically the house has no architectural significance. It's an undistinguished example of style, much better examples in the area. I'm like, if I was the homeowner then, I would be crushed, you know? That's not really a glowing recommendation for this home. And there is some discrepancy about what year the house was built. It said 1895 on one piece of paper, 1927 on another. I talked to Mr. Ross about it, and we just looked at the style and some of the other houses in the neighborhood, and he thought it was closer to the 1927 date, probably why the original HPC felt that it wasn't significant at all. It's really a mix of styles. I don't know if you've ever been by it, but it's kind of arts and crafts, a little bit of shingle style. There's conflicting details, ornamentation on the exterior and interior. It kind of blends through, that kind of whole period there. And there was a number of kind of ill-conceived renovations. They covered up the original cedar clapboard siding with asbestos shingles, which I guess was all the rage back in the 50s, because the original photo and the notation says it had asbestos shingles then. And most of the original windows were removed and replaced with hollow vinyl units. So it's, kind of a figment of its former integrity. So I could go through the plans for you. So I have some drawings here. These are the same drawings you have in front of you, just a little bit bigger. Make it a little bit easier to see. So on this side is the existing site plan. It's, a kind of a rectilinear volume. There's a little kind of wing wall that extends out to the side. And what we're proposing to do is add an addition here, a two-story addition here in the double hash line, and then a single-story garage in this area here. These are the existing floor plans. You can see it's kind of a traditional four-square compartmentalized layout. You walk in right into the living room, which is a nice space, but then you have this kind of a space they're using as a dining room. There's a small kitchen breakfast combined here with a tiny powder room. It's just not the way that people want to live nowadays. And on the second floor, there's 3 bedrooms and just a hall bath. What we're proposing to do is kind of open up the house, make more of a traditional center hall arrangement where we have a foyer. We're taking that existing big, giant living room, family room space and separating off to a more reasonable size. We're adding a dining room here. So this is the area of addition in this area. This is that wing wall that comes down in the front facade that I'll get to in a little bit. And then we're doing a combined kitchen breakfast with family, that kind of modern open concept that people are looking for. And we're taking the old dining room and making it a study/guest room. And we're adding a 1-car garage here with a mudroom to the rear. The deck remains the same. We're just going to extend it a little bit to connect and integrate with the overall floor plan of the house. The second floor, we're taking that front bedroom and making the closet into a bath. We're adding a kind of a dormer element over here to create a new primary bedroom with a full bath and closet. And then we're adding a bathroom on the back to that rear bedroom. And adding a little window seat to add a little bit character and charm on the exterior of the rear. These are the existing elevations. So the house really doesn't have very many defining architectural characteristics on the outside. The only real defining element is this kind of steeply sloping roof line. And there's a kind of attractive bay window on the side. So it's this element here, but it's hidden behind that wing wall. So when you drive down the street, you can't even see it. So what we're proposing to do is work with the existing volume of the house, kind of preserving the integrity by extending that existing roof line. The front door, which is another kind of interesting element, we're going to keep that. And so basically this portion of the house remains unchanged. We're just taking the existing roof line and extruding it out and then adding a bay. The existing house is kind of off kilter, it's kind of off balance. And so by adding this element over here, I think we're creating a much more attractive composition, looks much more balanced. And instead of creating or changing this main portion of the house, we're preserving it and making a subtle move here to create some extra space on the interior while maintaining that historic character and feel. And then we're taking that bay window that was hidden, and now it'll be, more of a primary focus on that side of the house. So when you drive up Chestnut Street towards Wyoming, that window now will have more prominence. And then we're just using more elements of the same. We're trying to keep the same kind of gables, same kind of bays, same kind of elements to break down the scale of the house and make it look like it was always that way. I went around the community and took some pictures of some houses. So I have a photo board here that I'd like to show the board. And the rendering, I think, really shows the scale and character of the house much more effectively than the two-dimensional architectural drawings. So here you can see that, the moves we're making, this is really the original house. If you look at photographs of it, it looks very, very similar. We're just kind of adding this little feature here. And then the garage, we're stepping it back, keeping it off the street, making it a one-story element with a much, much lower roof line, making it more subordinate to the primary volume, and making it separate yet harmonious with the overall massing of the home, allowing the main portion and the existing section of the house to shine and be the star and be the focal point. Just really adding additional space and roof lines to provide the space for my clients, Amar's programmatic needs. Starting in the design process, we looked at Barton's guidelines. What do we have to do? We also looked at the Department of Interior standards for preservation and rehabilitation. And it says basically, quote, "The process of returning a property to the state of utility through repair or alteration, which makes possible an efficient contemporary use while preserving those portions and features of the property which are significant to its historic, architectural, cultural values." And I think that's what we're doing here. This house was built, say 100 years ago almost. The needs of a modern family has changed significantly over the last 100 years. And by expanding and renovating this house, we're taking a house that's maybe, of a different time, bringing it up to date on the interior, but preserving the feel and character of it from the exterior. It talks about applying the standards in a reasonable manner, taking into consideration economic and technical feasibilities. And I think that'll come in later when we talk about the materiality. But we're talking about the concept of integrity, and I think we really are preserving the integrity of this house. We want it to feel like it's part of its time and place. And you can see, these are some pictures of the neighborhood of other houses with similar roof lines. So you can see they have this kind of main volume with the secondary roof line with the dormer. Same thing here on this house. This one as well, you have that kind of main A-frame in the front and the roof line extending out. So we're looking at the community, looking at the other houses within the Wyoming Historic District and trying to draw upon that. You know, our street is an eclectic mix of houses. Some are on the Wyoming house, walking tour. Other ones are much less significant. They've all been kind of renovated and altered over the years. And, some of them have vinyl siding. Most of them have hollow vinyl windows now, which is a shame. And some have stucco, some have, the cedar siding originally. And so, we've talked about the overall massing and then the materials. So over the years, it's been renovated. They've covered that siding, as I said before. So what we're proposing to do is to take off the asbestos shingle siding, strip it away, reveal the cedar siding that hides below, and restore that cedar siding and bring those portions of the house back up to what it was when it was built. Then we want to continue those materials to give that house the authenticity that I think it deserves. But, we're thinking about, I've done this before, we strip away, they put vinyl siding on it, aluminum siding on the house, asbestos siding. And sometimes when you pull that siding off, you realize that there was a reason they put it on there in the first place. The cedar is in such bad condition. Sometimes the cedar was in great condition, but when they put the siding on it, that being trapped behind another material didn't allow that wood to breathe like it's meant to. Or the sun beats down on it and the cedar looks great, and then you go to touch it and it just falls apart. So what I'd like the board to consider is, our primary objective is to work with the original materials and restore them. Our secondary plan would be to strip the siding and replace it, but to keep the front, have that historic appeal and curb appeal, to have the cedar on the front and then say cement board siding on the three sides. And I do a lot of additions and alterations in new homes. And the problem is that the cedar wood is not what it used to be. A box of shingles, to get one box that meets the standards for a cedar shingle installation, you have to take 3 boxes and then pull out all the little scrap shingles. They cup, they warp. They're just not what they used to be. We used to have old growth forests where all this original cedar came from. And now the trees are farmed. They just don't last. So to have something more durable and more economically feasible, because the cedar now is just skyrocketed in price. So we'd like to have hardy board or cement board siding with a smooth finish on 3 of the sides, and then have the front either have a cedar shingle or a cedar clapboard, and really give the house that kind of original feel from the street. I think either way, by stripping that siding off and replacing with something, it's going to be a far improvement from what we have right now. We're also going to be taking the windows and taking the hollow vinyl replacement windows out and putting in Anderson 400 series windows with full divided lights. So they'll have a more traditional appearance than the windows that are on the house now. And the 400 series windows, the sashes are actually painted and the frames are wrapped wood with vinyl, but it has a softer appearance. Much more, I think, more authentic than, say, like a Pella Reserve aluminum clad window. I find those aluminum clad windows are very sharp lined and don't really have that soft historic look that I think we're going for. I think they're great on certain contemporary houses and maybe more modern additions, but to have something kind of fit in with the style of this house, I think this is of those choices. That's a more appropriate example. We're going to a more appropriate 6/1 light style. I've had numerous conversations with Mr. Ross about it. What do we do? What materials? What do you think? What's his opinion? We're going with a asbestos shingle roof in a brown color to further pull out that shingle style. The garage door is going to be a wood unit to complement the front door. As you can see in the rendering, it has the very similar detailing, just in a different color. So the last bit is a fence. They are previously had a fence approved earlier this, in 2022. The only difference that we're proposing is to change the location. So on our site plan, and if you look at, I guess, the drawings that Mr. Ross submitted, the fence was, I guess, back towards the rear of the house. And what we're proposing to do is pull it forward. This rendering doesn't show the style of the fence appropriately, but it gives you an indication of the location. And then we wanted, a nice entryway here, a nice artwork that I think, pulls off these kind of circular elements. We're adding a little portico over the front door, further emphasizing, these kind of arched elements. We have them on the back as well. So I think overall the changes, really enhance the home, improve the functionality for the next generation while preserving the feel and integrity of the house. So that's kind of where I'll end it and open up to the commission for any questions.
All right, thank you. I think since Barton provided us with the report, I should read some elements from that.
Sure.
And I'm assuming that this is in response to what you have submitted. He did provide something on October 25th, but then he has something dated November 30th. I don't need to read through the background and context. I'll just get to his recommendations really at the end. So thank you for what you've put forth. I just want to provide his response to what you're proposing here. The applicants have revised the design per recent conversations. The design is much improved. He has recommended some slight modifications to the layout, and I think we probably want to talk about that. It says you provided information on the wood fencing, so I think that's been addressed in his comments here. It says here, we recommend approval with conditions for wood fencing that the main house utilize and repair in kind the historic wood clapboards currently under asbestos shingles. And we have this certificate of appropriateness from 2022, as you mentioned, for the wood fencing. All cement board at the new additions must be smooth finish and fields painted. No hardy is allowed at the main house. So I think then what we want to talk about is this slight shift back of the addition. Did you talk to Barton about that, or did he bring that up with you? Because it's on one of my papers here. So
Exactly. Yeah, that's one of the reasons that prompted my conversations with him.
okay.
He had suggested moving that roof line back.
Yeah.
But what he didn't realize is that's the existing roof line, so we couldn't move it back. We're continuing that roof line out. So let's see here. Yeah, basically after I talked to him, he says, "Oh, I understand now. Yeah, that makes perfect sense." So this roof line here, he was talking about lowering it, but you can see it's aligned with the existing peak. So if we brought it down, it creates a kind of an awkward transition and it doesn't really look right. So that's why, we're, let's see here. That's why we're extending it. So the existing house kind of ends here, and then we're just extending it out.
Right.
So he felt that was a better integration of the design than, after seeing it and seeing the two things side by side.
Okay, yeah, I'm trying to follow the conversations
sure.
that you had, so it's good to hear how that went back and forth. So I guess from what his comments are, then he's pretty accepting of what you have, and you sound like you're mostly on board with what he's talking about at this point.
Yeah, the only real question we had was, it says approved on some conditions by the board. And one thing I wanted to talk to you about is the siding and the materiality. I think that's the issue. Redoing the house with all new cedar all the way around would be phenomenally expensive, especially for a house on this location. So that's why I was suggesting the alternate of, cedar on the front and then cement board on the three sides. And that way I thought it would be a good compromise between the two. We're hoping that the siding beneath is restorable because obviously that's going to be the most attractive and the least expensive option.
Right.
But, in light of, not knowing what's underneath, would that be something the board would consider?
Okay, let's listen to Karen. Do you have any? I'll open up to the commission. I'll give any comments.
Well, I can appreciate your desire to keep the the stuff, or the cedar, but obviously if it's going to look awful in 6 months or a year, you probably don't want to do that.
Exactly.
So, I guess you can have I'll give you the cedar or the cement board in front too.
Okay.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Mary?
Just a question, I see that, did you discuss the size of the dormer? You mentioned you wanted it slightly smaller, did you discuss that?
Yeah, through my conversations with him, he understood the massing better and what parts were additions and what parts were the original house. So we came to that conclusion that,
It was fine the way.
yeah, he seems to be on board with the latest design.
Yeah, there's
I don't
two,
think I had
yeah,
it.
there's one from November.
Oh,
which,
okay, okay.
reflects the
Okay.
current,
All right,
yeah,
yeah.
so there's definitely been some back and forth.
Yeah.
Anything?
No, that's-
Okay, Jessica?
No, my comment was going to be about, the issue of putting cedar all the way around the house, and that if it's that cost prohibitive, I don't think that we can have that kind of expectation, from a homeowner. But I guess what you're planning on putting on the side and rear of the house is still, I'm having trouble
Oh, sure.
understanding what material that is and how that looks in relation to what the front of the house will be. Just want to make sure it's not going to look like a.
Yes, so we're thinking of doing either restoring the cedar that's there, and if the
Okay.
cedar, once we pull the asbestos shingles off, if the cedar is in really poor condition and not salvageable, we would like to do smooth hardy board paneling, cement board. So it'll look like the original clapboard. Like when you look at the guidelines, it says things that are technically feasible. So, cedar siding is not technically feasible, so how do we achieve that look? And that's why that product was invented, to try to give you that look of that historic clapboard. And that's what we're thinking about doing.
So it would be same color and everything.
Same color and everything, yeah. We try to make it as seamless as possible. Not only, because it's going to look better,
Yeah, of course.
Bob?
I'm good.
All right, well, so it sounds like then you're settled with moving forward with cedar on the front and the smooth hardy plank on the sides and the back. So I think that's a condition that we would put on the approval of this application.
If I may, as Mrs. Gallard mentioned, if it is not in a redeemable condition, I would love, as you mentioned, that if we could have this optionality, because that's something, of course, we want to keep actually cedar everywhere if it is possible, because that would be the least expensive. But as Doug mentioned, and as the builder has also mentioned, that from their vast experience, apparently most of the time it doesn't go as expected. So if we have this optionality of going for this smooth, what do you call it?
Cement board.
Cement board, yeah.
Mhm.
That, which you, right, as you pointed out, that would be really appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you don't know what's underneath everything, so you haven't tested or, it's all, that's what a home improvement's about, right? So you never know sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is you have to open that can of worms to find out what it is. And
Right.
we've only explored a small section, just as, Mr. Ross suggested. He says, why don't you pull it off and see what's underneath? And we're
So
like,
we knocked down actually one part of the house for him.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah.
even though the renovation is probably 6 months away. So.
Okay, so I think that's a condition we'll put on approval for the siding. I had a question about the fence, because that was approved to be set back. Do you need a variance to have it set up front like that? Like, I don't know how that works in terms of,
no, we don't need a variance for the fence. It's not in the front yard. It's behind the front line of the house.
Okay.
So we're still here. I think originally they had put it here. I'm not exactly sure why, but, looking at how the fence integrates with the house, it made more sense to bring it up to the front.
okay. And then, you provided some information on the roof tile, right? That was.
Yeah, it's timberline, GIF timberline, probably like in a weathered wood or a wood color.
I think that's acceptable too. And you gave us information on The garage doors, that's all, I mean, it's all here, so.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I think we're pretty complete with this. I don't really have any further questions, so at this point then, we could take a motion to approve the application with the caveat of the siding, I think is the only thing that we'll put on there then.
Forgive the interjection. Is there public comment allowed to influence?
Sorry, I'm not usually running the meting, but I apologize. Yes,
No,
you're right.
I'm not usually at these. So
That's okay. Yes, please excuse me, but yes, I would open the comments from the public then. So if there are comments, please come up and then, yes.
To just introduce ourselves?
Sure,
We
yeah.
don't need to be sworn in, right? Okay, I'm Daniel Weinstein. This is Eva Weinstein. We're the property owners of 52 Chestnut in Milburn. And I just want to say before I share some prepared notes I have on this, we got the information from certified mail in October. I know the November meeting was canceled. We went to town hall to get to see some of the information, but it wasn't available. So my prepared remarks are just off of what was written here about the two-story addition. So just want to kind of put that out there, but I think it's relevant.
You have to be sworn.
We did? Okay.
I want to follow up either now or at an appropriate time because I don't know what wasn't available.
Okay.
Did you go to town, you went to the
Went to
building
the
department?
the building
They should have
department.
been at the building department. They weren't picked up from the building department until Tuesday, this past Tuesday.
Yeah,
And there was a copy left there.
Yeah, sure.
So they should have been able to show you what was there.
We talked to multiple people, we
Yeah, I
called several
called
times,
and
we
then-
came in person multiple times.
Okay.
They kept saying, it's not here, it's with, we don't know, call this person. We literally never have seen any of this,
Yeah.
even though we received a letter that we received.
So we had an idea, although not as much, but yeah, happy to continue with prepared
Okay.
remarks.
Okay.
Both
But-
of you raise your hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you provide tonight to the commission on this application will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
You're going to incorporate in your testimony what you just said about the plans not being available.
Great. Okay, thank you. So as stated, we're the owners of 52 Chestnut Street. And just to state that we're opposed to this application that's being considered for 56 Chestnut, which, as we understood it, was to move the existing driveway to the opposite side of the property and construct a two-story addition with an attached garage. We didn't realize the extent of this, and while the application is quite impressive and the designs sound amazing, it feels, and what we could see glancing through some of the pictures, it's isolated just to the property and pretty out of context to our existing home if you walk through. So I'll just give a little bit, sorry, just for background, apologies for the reading off my prepared remarks. I just want to make sure I cover everything. Frankly, I get a little bit intimidated in this setting, so thank you for bearing with me. But I want to be respectful of your time, so I want to take the commission through 3 topics, please. One is just a brief background of our time at 52 Chestnut, 2 relevant events that transpired over the past year with Mr. Singh and us, and then of course the application itself. So starting with our background, my wife and I moved out of New York City in 2007 in the typical migration that young parents with a 1-year-old child make. And after looking at 5 homes in Milburn, we settled on 52 Chestnut Street. And I actually brought the original listing for the home where it's described as a charming cape and touted a greenhouse attached to the garage, which would appeal to gardeners who enjoy planting in a large yard, a place to provide solitude after a busy day. It's a very sweet 1,400 square foot wet home on a very large yard. We grew our family welcoming 2 more kids and enjoyed the neighborhood, making friends with families across the street and having a great relationship with our previous neighbors at 56 Chestnut. And in 2020, for reasons that I don't need to explain, we needed a little bit more space for our kids that were no longer babies, but we wanted to stay in the Milburn Short Hills area. So we moved to a larger home in Deerfield. However, we wanted to always keep 52 Chestnut as our forever home, as a place we'd move back to when our kids eventually move out. We don't need, our current larger home at that time. And I'm giving you all this background because I just want to make it clear we're not holding 52 Chestnut as some type of investment property or business. We're not in the business of being landlords. We don't own them. We own 2 homes. We're holding our home because we have every intention of moving back one day. In fact, you can ask our current tenants about our sentimentality. It's kind of a running joke, actually, with them. So in August 22, the Sings purchased 56 Chestnut, and within a couple weeks, the Sings ripped out all the shrubs and vegetation in the fronts and sides and back of their property. Essentially everything that could be taken down with the exception of trees, but I'll address that in a moment. So even I learned 4 things at that time, and I think it's just relevant for this application. First one is particularly relevant, what we learned. The property line between our lots between 52 and 56 Chestnut is actually a lot closer to our home than we realized. Like for years, our neighbors at 56 Chestnut and us, we took care of each other's plantings and weeding out poison ivy, trimming hedges. But it turns out that many of the plants that we thought of, like the purple one that we thought were ours, were actually not. So technically, the Sings had every right to remove those. And they did. The second thing we learned is that we have a drain pipe running out from our house that ran about 6 feet into the Sings property. The drain pipe is crucial because our homes experienced significant flooding, Irene, and more on that later. So we have all the gutters, leaders, and sump pump running out to the 4-inch drain. We never knew it wasn't our property because, again, we had just a mutual understanding with our former neighbors, and there was plenty of vegetation to absorb that water. But again, technically, that pipe was on their property. And now with zero vegetation, it was deemed a nuisance. And the third thing we learned was that the Sings wanted to run a 6-foot privacy fence along the property boundary. And when I offered a compromise of perhaps considering more natural privacy fencing, such as a combination of slatted fencing or metal fencing with vegetation, or the idea that was brought up for 88 Stewart, which sounds amazing to do this fence vegetation or vegetation fence, vegetation is awesome. Yes. We would have shared in that cost, but Mr. Singh immediately responded, no, 6-foot privacy fence right on the property line, which again, that was technically within his right. So the final thing we learned, again, this is why I'm taking the commission through it, is that it wasn't going to be a collaborative relationship. The Sings were going to do whatever they wanted to, right up the limits of what's allowable. And when I took some time to confirm our survey and then research the right solution for our drain pipe, Mr. Singh became very impatient, started receiving calls and texts from him all times of day and night. He'd follow me on the train, confront me on the commute. It wasn't pleasant, but of course, again, technically I couldn't do anything. So I raise that also because of, like, I feel like this presentation was just in what is technically allowable within the lot, within like the house itself. But I really would urge you to consider it the neighborhood. The fence project that they started last year wasn't finished, which I thought was odd because there was a lot of urgency to it about his kids. I discovered the reason they didn't finish it was so they could remove some massive trees, including a very beautiful spruce. And I know that some of the trees were a hazard, but they removed enough trees that the town forester required them to plant 23 replacement trees, which only happened recently and are just like 4-foot arborvitae lining some of the fence, which I guess technically trees, but definitely not a replacement for what was taken down. And then I learned about this application. So I want you to know that I'm objecting this not for objection's sake, but I'm objecting because it just feels like a continued denigration of our enjoyment and value of our home. And I have a number of reasons why I'm appealing to this commission to deny this application. So this is my third point, and I'll talk directly about this application. 1, there are no homes on the south side of Lower Chestnut Street, defined between Wyoming and Glen, that have garages, like none, whether detached or attached. And there's only 4 homes on the north side that have garages, and 2 are set in the backyard. And so when I was reading through, and please, I'm not trying to, this is not meant to be, I'm saying this humbly, but when I was reading through the Historic Preservation Ordinance, which is to maintain and develop an appropriateness and harmonious setting for the historically significant structure sites and districts located within the township, and then to encourage and manage appropriate alterations of historic sites and improvements within historic districts, and to prevent new construction which is not in keeping with the character of historic districts. Again, I know the home itself is not historically significant, but there are no homes on that side of the street that have garages. And the Sings must surely have been aware of that when purchasing their home. The second point, there's already an existing driveway on the west side of 56 Chestnut, so it's the one next to 60 Chestnut, thereby creates a section of street that has 2 driveways side by side, which you see in patterns along Chestnut. Moving this to the other side of Chestnut by our house is now, would be a driveway right next to our front walkway. Like, and again, based on what I saw where the garage is right on the property line, I mean, that's right next to our front walkway. and we've already seen a pattern of this thing's building to the limit. So to have vehicular traffic so close to a main walkway just seems an unnecessary hazard. In addition, there's a bedroom in that front walkway that faces west. So those bedroom occupants, which were us, would be subject to car engines, doors, and garage doors. It just doesn't make sense why to move the driveway from one side of the house to the other. The other one I'll go over quickly because I'm not the architect, but if you look at, and you guys are much more qualified, but it just seemed with 56 Chestnut, when you're looking at the street there, looking at the house, the roof line goes low on one side and then cuts off on the other side. It seems more sense you'd extend kind of the one side to create a garage than kind of a double sloped whatever is going on, but I haven't seen the pictures, so I'll skip over that third point. Fourth point. In old Google Maps satellite photos, you can't even see 56 Chestnut because of, like, I can show it to you right now. But without the trees and vegetation that once created privacy between 52 and 56, 56 Chestnut, like, I really urge you to walk down the street. It towers over our smaller house. And creating this additional mass and height by building even closer to our property line is only going to exacerbate that imbalance. Our house, I think, because it was the 50s, was built with a very shallow setback, and I get that's like previous issues, but like it just would be an enormous kind of imbalance. And then finally, my last point about this is about vegetation. One of my largest concerns about this project is water runoff. And our home is on the downhill side of 56 Chestnut. We're already getting a lot of water coming down the reservation, so adding a driveway plus a structure is only going to create more runoff that I don't know that our home's drainage is going to be able to handle. I'll wrap this up. I just feel that, like, even I've been marginalized over and over throughout the past year. Like, every time we try to fight for our kind of any kind of property rights to maintain anything, we just get shut down. And I understand while this application may have technical merits, I'm just imploring or begging this commission to compel the Saints to find an alternate solution, maybe on the other side of the existing driveway, or simply make do without a garage. I really thank you for your consideration and hope that you'll support me and my family in trying to retain some semblance of what made us fall in love with our house in the first place. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Is your wife going to make any comments?
No, just I want to say I really love this home, and please, before you vote tonight, please go walk down Chestnut Street. It's the Chestnut Street between Glen and Wyoming. It's the best block in town, and just think about look at their house now and think about what. Again, I don't even know what they're proposing, but something giant would look like it would be completely out of character. So please, before you vote, just do that. Thank you.
What's your first name?
Eva,
Eva.
thank you.
Could we please share, thank you so much. Could you please share the rendering just so that?
We're not going to be able to look at it in one night, and we're going to.
I mean, at some point, we'd love,
Yes,
yeah, we'd
yes.
love to
Just,
Yes, thank
I
you.
wish I had not at my room or house.
I mean, this is a set of the plans, you want to
Sure.
about it?
So should I?
Would you like to respond to?
Sure, of course.
Some
I'd be
of
happy
the
to.
comments they brought? Is that,
And
We
Yes.
should find out if anybody else in the audience is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize there were people here who were not applicants.
sorry, anyone else with comments on this application?
Yeah, I mean, it would be great if you could put our house here so we could really show it.
Right. So just to address some of their concerns, and I appreciate your perspective, and especially being a neighbor. So the property lines are the property lines. It's unfortunate that they had a misunderstanding of what their property was over the years because of the hedgerow that was there. But it was my understanding from the Sings is that the hedgerow was kind of overgrown. It wasn't really well maintained. There was trees that were growing into their foundation of their house. There was a spruce that was literally touching their home. So they had discussion with the town forester to take the trees down. And the town has an ordinance that if you take down certain trees of certain sizes, they have to be replaced with other trees of other sizes. So everything they did on the property, although it may not meet the satisfaction of the neighbors, and maybe they could have had more discourse and understanding your feelings, I'm sure the Sings would engage you in maybe planting some more screening or doing something.
May I interrupt? I want to address one or 2 points, since just to give people some perspective without taking too much of the time. As soon as we walk in a new house, of course, you want to be friend with every neighbor, and that's the first, So in the same spirit, we started to clean the shrubs which were overgrowing, and pretty much every neighbor came to our house. Actually, the 52 Chestnut is the only house where the owners don't live there, so they couldn't see the day-to-day progress when we moved into the house. So pretty much everybody else came and said that, oh, you guys have given the property a haircut. Literally, I cleaned up. Otherwise, if you see it on Google Earth, you still won't be able to see, as you rightly pointed out, because there were shrubs everywhere. There were poison ivy everywhere. So when we walk in the house, we have 2 kids, and as I briefly mentioned, without getting into the details, we moved into this, we moved into this beautiful school district because of its reputation on how they support children with special needs. And that's one thing which my son has autism. And as soon as we walked in the property, we realized that the property actually opens up to Glen Avenue, which is a very busy road. And so I immediately reached out I did not know about the Historic Commission being a part of. My son was he was fascinated by the running cars. So he was constantly running back to the road. So I immediately sent an email I came to the town next day, literally. They're saying that, can we put some fence so that the children don't endanger them? But to put the fence, you needed to clean up where you could put something. So then they asked me to get in touch with Mr. Ross. So I started communication, and I learned that you have to go through the process, and that's the application which Doug was referring to, their effort. That finally I learned the rules, and then I got approved. And during the process, I invited the forester, because again I learned the rules that before you can touch anything on the property, you have to involve the town. So I invited the forester, and she identified couple of trees which were rotten completely, and those were actually those were literally leaning over our neighbor's garage, and nobody had any clue. And interestingly, I learned again this regulation that if we had not done anything, if it had fallen over to the garage, just because I was not aware and they had never objected to it, it would have been completely fine. But I thought that, we just moved into the property, let's do the right thing. So I invited the tree company, and the forester showed me all the trees which were really bad. And I requested, so there was one tree actually which is on the other side of it's 57 Chestnut, right? On the other side of the house. So there is a really old couple who live there, and I proposed that I would be happy to take that tree down without any cost to them, just to be a good neighbor. So I actually took down all these trees for my neighbors to be happy about, but that's okay. And in exchange, the forester asked me to put 24 trees, and I'm happy to report right now, actually more than 50 trees have been planted. And they are not 4 feet, they are now more than 8 or 9 feet. And actually 6 of those I have recently planted to give some more privacy on the driveway which I was proposing, so that that was not needed, but and I continue to plant more because it just feels the right thing to do, because my requirement was only 24, but so far I think it has been 20 plus 6 plus more than 40 trees I've already planted in the last 6 months, and I'll continue to do that. Please.
Oh, sure.
Can I just ask on the work that's proposed on the side where the addition is going, are there any variances required for that work?
The only variance, everything is going to be conforming for coverage area. It's just the front yard setback. There's an ordinance in town. They're changing the front yard setback definition. So the way the ordinance read before, and when this application was submitted to the board, is that everything has to be 40 feet off the street or established if the established is greater than 40 feet, but you can't come closer than 40. They changed the ordinance so that houses like ours would not have to come in front of the Board of Adjustment. So when there's an established setback, there's certain consistency to that, all the houses, a certain rhythm to that would be conforming. But unfortunately, the way it was worded is very confusing, and it basically is going to require almost every single house that has an addition go in front of the Board of Adjustment for a variance. So my conversations with the zoning official, they've been working with the planning board and the people to rework the wording. So I'm not exactly sure where that wording is going to be, but Ms. Davitt, the zoning official, said, I don't think you're going to need a variance once the new ordinances come out, but we don't know exactly how the ordinance is going to be worded. But what we're doing is taking our addition and stepping it back further from the street than the existing house to minimize the garage. And to, one of their concerns was, why don't we build on the right side of the house instead of the left side of the house? The town has requirements as far as setbacks, how far you have to be from your neighbors, how far you can be from the street, the rear. And our house is sited all the way to the right side. So we're literally over the required setback on the right side. So we can't touch the right side. The existing driveway is existing non-conforming. If we built this house today, we couldn't put the driveway where it is. We couldn't fit a garage on the right side because it'd be far too close to the property line than required in the ordinance. So by moving the driveway to the other side and adding the garage, we're actually bringing the house more into conformance than it is now. So, the garage is something that the town land use ordinance recommends. They want to get the cars off the street. They don't want people parking their cars in the driveway. They don't want the visual clutter. They want the garages. They want people to park in them. So often people's garages are just big storage rooms, but we've designed this garage so that they can actually pull their car in and get it off the street and not have it so close. We're going to be conforming to the setback. We're actually going to be further away from your house than required, much further than the minimum required. So
there's no side yard.
There's no side yard setback, and we're further from their house than required, and we're much lower. That's the one-story section of the house, just where the garage is. Yeah, so the two-story addition is basically in the dead center of the property. So we're trying to be sensitive to the neighbors. Their house is just extremely small. It's a very small cottage. It's, if you took the opposite bent, you'd say that would be so far out of context to all the other houses. So there's always these outliers, these houses that don't kind of quite fit in. So, in considering the drainage, this isn't a Board of Adjustment application. This is more about aesthetics and scale. And, we are conforming to the scale and all the requirements. It's just, does this look like and have the feel of what the house should have? So the drainage is all going to be addressed with the town engineer. We're going to have to do a stormwater management and grading plan and submit it for the township engineer's approval. So if there's any undue runoff from the house now, all that roof line is going to be picked up by new downspouts and taken away to special tanks that slowly release the water into the soil. So by actually building this addition, all the rainwater that's not picked up now is going to be picked up and disposed of in a proper way. So it's only going to improve any of the drainage from where it is now once the addition is built. The fence we talked about, that's all, within the board's review.
Yeah, actually, I realized you had provided 2 samples. Have you made a decision on that?
Yeah, one sample is to the side and fence is to the front. So there's a picture of a fence across the street. I don't know if I have a picture here. This fence across the street here. Let's see, but I can bring it up.
It's a space picket.
It's a space
the
picket
picture
fence.
which is,
Right, the rendering.
yes.
So we had more solid fence around the sides and a more open space picket on the front. So it has that more traditional picket fence appearance from the street.
Mhm.
That's the one which is right now between these 2 properties. And I have planted this green vegetation right next to that, even though it was not needed.
But you've currently constructed a fence?
So the fence was
Partial?
approved last year and it was all implemented.
What does that look
It
like?
has been implemented like a U shape.
But is it solid or has the visual spacing?
So the visual spacing is, may I show it here? Yeah, so this is the house, this is the existing house. So the fence right now goes, this side is the neighbor's fence. So I put the fence here because this is where you have Glen Avenue. And this is what I was interested in blocking as soon as possible because my kids were just running, this is the road. So I put the fence here and it stops
somewhere here. And from here to here, you have the space picket, which is what Mr. Ross had approved last year.
And you're gonna continue the same across the front?
That's
is
right,
what you
exactly.
propose.
Yeah. And this is where so what I did 6 months ago, I put these green giants, 25 of these along this line, and 10 here and 6 here. I've already planted those, 41.
All right, well, I think you answered the questions that came up. I mean, does anyone have any further questions on this?
I have just a comment. No, I was just gonna, say this feels a little bit like it's turning into as a liaison to the zoning board, like more of a, zoning, board meeting, but I wanted to reiterate, what Mr. Miller said, which is that we do have an ordinance in town that, houses are supposed to have garages. So to make, I appreciate what the neighbors had to say to make the argument that, a lot of the houses in the neighborhood don't have garages, so we should keep this house from having a garage, really is going against, what the township wants, which is cars off of driveways. So I would disagree with that. I'm completely in favor of having a garage attached to this house or as part of this house. And I feel comfortable knowing that this application may not even need to come before the zoning board, but if it did, it's not coming before the zoning board because of any side yard setback issues or any massing issues. So I just wanted to give that perspective.
Thanks. Well, I mean, we've heard the comments, so I think at this point we take a motion to approve as presented with the conditions that we've indicated. So is there a motion to approve?
So moved?
A second?
Second.
Okay. We'll take a vote, please.
Mr. Davis?
Yes?
Mrs. Escobar?
Yes.
Mrs. Gaylord?
Yes.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
Mrs. Black?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Good luck with your
I appreciate your
project.
time. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And please, we did hear you. I don't want you walking away thinking we didn't hear you, but we did hear you. And understand that this has been reviewed by our outside consultant, and it is consistent with the regulations that was.
We didn't even have a chance to look at it. We got a letter that we were supposed to, and we didn't. So we couldn't even comment based on something that we know about. Just
Understood.
completely not fair and not according to the rules, just to be clear.
You're still welcome. Please knock at the door anytime. You're most welcome.
Moving on to the next item on the list, which is application number 561. This is 2210, lot 1. This is a non-contributing in the Short Hills Park Historic District. Bernie Wu is the applicant. This is a regulatory application for construction of a new single-family residence and associated site improvements, and this may sound familiar to folks that were here a few years back that had seen this one probably 5-6 years ago, I think, right, or something like that. So
And multiple times too.
yeah.
Yes. This is our third time.
Okay. All right. So please introduce yourselves, and you need to be sworn in if you're going to make a testimony here.
I'm Bernadine Wu, I'm the owner of 40 Highland.
Christian Tyrone, potential builder for the project.
I'm Thomas Conway. I'm an architect for the project. Rosen Kelly Conway in Summit.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony of the filing this application
I do.
I do.
Go ahead.
So I'm the owner of the property known as Montview. Everybody knows it as the big blue house with the wraparound porch since 2004. Montview has a special historic role in Short Hills since 1880, one of the first houses, and I've been honored to be its most recent steward. With the support of the HPC, we have 2 enormous restorations, and I continue to manage the property myself while running my global consultant firm. I have always been involved with our neighborhood, with the Historic Society, and with Montview and Highland as they are. This is probably my 5th time in front of the commission. So I was gonna say it's nice to see some of you, but I think some of you are not here. And it's, like you said, it's been several years since we had approved plans for the adjoining property, 67 Montview. I'm very grateful, and special thanks to Barton for his research and guidance. I know he's not here either. For those of you that are new to this project, I want to give you a brief recap. 67 Montview was part of one property that was 4 properties. It was divided in the 1940s to create my property, 40 Highland, 67 Montview, 59 Montview, and one more lot next to it. A small colonial house was built onto 67 Montview when it got divided. Dilapidated, a very nice old lady lived there, but it actually became unlivable. There was 3-dimensional black mold. So ultimately it was knocked down through approval from the commission because it was actually erroneously put on the historic registry. So when it came to having an opportunity to improve the property and the neighborhood, with full support of the neighborhood. I bought it as a defensive move against a builder that was going to build a McMansion. Bit of a sucker move, but I felt very strongly about the neighborhood and about preserving this block. So we got great support from demolishing it. The approved plans now are what I think and what the commission has thought were befitting the style and times of both adjoining properties in between. And so we've received multiple compliments on the design and the style of the house. So since then, I had been focused on my business and my family, and then looked for a development partner that I thought would be appropriate. So the reason why I'm speaking here today is to ask once again for your support to reapprove the same plans, very, very minor tweaks, with my longtime architect and partner, Tom Conway, who will do the presenting. So I am under contract with Christian, this buyer, to sell the property, and the plans contingent upon your approval. I have met with Christian, who strikes me as a successful and thoughtful developer. He prioritizes high-end properties and has stated his commitment to honoring the intention of the designs and the original goal, an elegant, historic base and unobtrusive design. I believe that Christian and Tom's plans will make. I chose Christian as the buyer in a competitive situation, and I fully support this project. So hope you will help me realize this vision for this neglected spot, wonderful property, and thank you for listening to our presentation.
Do I have to say anything? I'm Conway, if you all haven't met me before, Rosa Kelly Conway in Summit, and I was chairman of the Historic Preservation Commission in Summit for 10 years, and I've done even tours in the Short Hills Park Historic District, and been working here and doing a lot of applications in front of you all for many years, and do a lot of, that's what I do is historic preservation, and what this is, which is what we call contextual design, something that's within its context and is respectful of the neighborhood. So I just started with this quick diagram because I know you all have read Barton's thing, so I'm not going to go through any of all that time and date. But this is the original house here, which is called Montview, which the street was named after. The house originally in this section here, right about here, that was originally a Queen Anne house, and then it was expanded into this what we call period that has a lot of variety of different Victorian architecture. There's actually stick, and it has kind of some arts and crafts details, but it's mostly a stick style and Carpenter Gothic. So then this other build, so you'll see this picture, which you have in your group. So that's Montview. Look, that's the actual name of the house, Montview, looking along Highland Avenue. And then this is the property itself here. And then this is 59 Montview, which is this building. And this was original carriage house to the building. So both of these are extant. And the property, as Bernadine mentioned, there was a 1947 house that we took down for that. So when you look at the site plan, it may seem a little confusing for preservation to show demolished buildings, but this was the old setup that was for that property. And then this is the new development plan for this new contextual house that we're building. So we did come in front of the board originally to propose a detached garage in the back. And they like that. And all these meet all the zoning. There's no zoning issues, no building issues, whatever. It's all setbacks. We already have the engineering from Casey and Keller. We've gone through all this over and over again. And I've met with multiple builders to talk about this project over and over again. But so this project here, that the house is set so that it kind of creates this kind of dialogue between the buildings. So you can kind of see edges of all these buildings simultaneously when you drive up the street. And the whole idea is that these properties should all feel kind of akin and related in essence. So when we look at re-landscaping this property, that's going to be very important, that maybe that the lawns kind of so that would be Short Hills Park Historic District concept. So then has not changed with regard to the setbacks. All the zoning, as I said, meets those requirements. The changes, I'm going to only really focus on the changes, which was we changed one chimney here. We made that into a gas unit. Upper expansion, which didn't affect the outside. We changed I'm going to show you in the elevations. We changed these doors. They're in the same size, but we went from 5 to 4 in the back. I actually think that's an improvement. And we changed some windows upstairs. So inside, this actually just stayed as is. And then we had originally a chimney. So if you look at the old drawings that we had, that you all have, those were that. And then on the second floor, we changed, one of these was a window and then another door. I'll show you them in the elevation. We changed them both to doors. We felt like it was going to be a little bit more elegant. And these were double windows in the back here, and we turned them to single windows on the back side of the house. So that's a change there. And that's it on the outside. So to just show you, so the front is exactly the same as what we presented. This side, these were double windows originally. We went to single, which I actually think looks better. The lattice, a little bit larger. We thought it would be a little bit more in keeping with the scale of this. This was kind of a nice scale with these side lights. And then this lattice detail we thought would be a little bit more fun to have a little bit larger size to that. And then we changed these doors to be 4 of the sliding French doors here on the back. And then this side, the chimney was removed. So that's the whole update. Now we had, as over the many times I met with all these different developers. By the way, this site plan, which is consistent, we haven't changed any of this. Like Casey and Keller said, Mike Lenzapama does not have to come back here again. I feel very strongly that this is been a really interesting process for me as a preservation and architect, as a preservationist and an architect. But I think they found Christian, and he's the best of anybody that we met with over the course of it. He's been very supportive of all the materials that we suggested. No pushback on the windows. We want to use Norwood windows. We want to use plank for the board and the batten and the upper clapboard. We're going to use a asphalt shingle, fiberglass shingle roof. We're thinking we're either going to use the Serpentine Grand Manor on Bernadine's house to look like slate because the roof wasn't able to support the slate that originally was on it, and that's why it's been taken off. This one, I think we're probably going to use either the GAF, but probably more, the one I really like right now is the Owens Corning Duration, because it actually has a really good tab detail and the colors are really nice. So I'm hoping we can use that on this, and all the same details. Any other questions?
Christian wanted.
What? Oh, Christian did.
Yeah.
You can answer it. Oh, I didn't know whether he wanted to talk or he was just going to answer a question. Go ahead.
So I'm a little late to the party on this project because apparently it's been going on for almost a little less than a decade. So when.
More than a decade.
Yes, when we met, I think you were a little surprised at the fact that I didn't want to recreate the wheel. I think being in a historic district, understanding and researching what it meant to the community and the owner now was important to me to keep the integrity of what's happening in the neighborhood and historic district. So I think we may have had 2 half-hour meetings, and we said this is what we're going to do. So knowing that it had been previously approved with some very small changes that I wanted to do just on a couple windows and doors. I'm looking forward to, hopefully getting this approved and, start building. I have one project actually I'm building right now at 127 Stewart, which is ongoing. And I also build in Summit and Maplewood. So I'm in this area predominantly. So thank you.
All right, great. I'm just going to read Barton's recommendations to his letter. They need to read the whole thing. He's obviously attached to 2014 approval. It was 2014, it seemed later, but
2016.
There was, but
there was a change.
There's been two.
Yeah.
There's two that we.
Okay.
So 2014 was the original, and then we changed it.
Okay. Yeah, right. I think 17 there was some modification.
Yes.
But so as established ordinance, the HPC seeks to protect and preserve the heritage and history of town. Ensure that any new development maintains character, scale, and feel of historic buildings that define a district. Because these goals do not appear to be adversely impacted by its application, or in other words, they are consistent with that. We recommend that this application be approved with any conditions as imposed by the commission. So Barton's fine with this. I just open up to the rest of the commissioners. Jessica.
I think the changes relative to what the original planners are basically de minimis. I think it's a really nice plan, and I live in the neighborhood, not close enough to be, exempt, not able to vote on this, but I will say after years and years of passing by, this empty lot and the for sale sign, I'm excited to see, something come to fruition. So I think it's going to be great. I support it.
Thank you. Rob?
Me too.
Good.
Excited to see something go up.
Great.
Yeah, I echo her words exactly, and I think it would be great to build a house there.
Karen?
I have just a comment because I live up farther and we have to drive by there all the time. Gap View is directly across from that property. And if you're coming up Gap View or trying to make a turn down, it's kind of dangerous. You really have to look really well to see what you're doing. Especially with the rocks right there. So I would,
And people come flying around that corner, right?
Yeah,
This, right along here are some trees and overgrowth as well.
Yeah.
We started taking down as much as we could, but I think that is also part of this plan. Tom talked about this rolling sort of feeling here. And so, there's no plan for a fence here. The Roskells have a fence that kind of starts over here. So I know what you mean, because this is a sight line that
So we
is
definitely wanna
critical coming this way
open that up.
and that way, yeah.
We want to open that lawn up so you can see it, and those rocks are They're,
Rocks are-
no, they need to
they're
go.
scared.
They need, no, I mean, that's all part
I
of
had to
it.
move them around, okay? They're
Okay, I
very,
know,
very
I know, but we're gonna.
Well, on the other, I have two work on two different areas here. Tend to be a horticulturist, so there are a couple of trees. They're a large leaf, I think they're called a magnolia.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A magnolia oak.
yeah,
The leaves are this big.
yeah.
and they're
There's one
unbelievable.
here, and the other one unfortunately died in one of the superstorms.
One
Yeah.
okay.
But I think that one is, you can still see through it.
Okay. You
And
gonna take it down?
I hope not.
Okay.
I hope we don't. But, yeah, I love that tree too, because we have one over here as
Yeah,
well.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
We're hoping to keep that, but right now, there's all this underbrush in the way. You can't, as you go up Highland, you can't see where you're going, and you come around the corner and then somebody's coming up. We are all aware of that. And we may even, along the way, Bernadine was even talking about this, we may even curve the drive a little bit more this way, depending on how it works. Once we have to get a landscape plan. Christian's working with his landscape people to kind of figure that out. But the drive may want to change slightly so that we don't want to exacerbate any of the issues there. But I mean, the ability though to be able to see up along this edge is going to make a huge difference from the way it is now, which is just an overgrown site.
I hate to see it, opened up too much so that it, hidden there.
I think the goal, we were talking about it, like there's the landscape element here, and I'm not a landscape architect, but I do dabble.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, and but we were hoping to kind of have, kind of this idea that there would be landscape in the back and then flow through there. But if there were trees interrupting that way, which is Bernadine has, a number of these beautiful trees, we're going to keep those. It's just we want to open this landscape up as much as possible. We may raise the canopy a bit so you can see up the street. I actually don't have any purple, but like this is all ivy growing.
Yeah.
This is probably a climbing euonymus on this tree, but we can raise the canopy enough. This is actually just completely engulfed in it looks like English ivy. So that's probably going to come down as well. I don't know whether that's come down yet. So we'll look at that, but we'll fix all that. But thank you for bringing it up because it's important.
I cry. I'm the person who's known as the flower person.
Thanks, Karen. I saw this back in 2017, so I was surprised to see it back, but I understand now the slight changes to it, so it all seems to make sense. You don't need any kind of type of variance for the driveway, right?
No.
That's allowable also.
Everything is allowable.
Yeah.
We're
No,
only
it's,
presenting.
I think the theme is people will be happy to see something on the property. So I think, do I have a motion then? In the public, sorry, I'm learning, I'm still new at this, all right, no one, all right, no public, all right. Then motion to approve the application?
Motion. So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right, we'll take a vote, please.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Escobar?
Yes.
Mrs. Gaylord?
Yes.
Mr. Frankel?
Mr. Frankel, oh.
That's you, right? Mrs. Blatt?
Yes.
All right, great, well, congratulations and good luck with the project.
Thanks.
I was gonna say,
At the start.
You want to see that ground open tomorrow.
I'm just happy not to talk to another developer about it.
We'll move quickly through the last items on the agenda. Number 4 for the evening is to set our meeting dates for 2024. Those of us that are returning, I think some are not, but there are the dates as put forth on our agenda, with the first meeting actually being January 5th, which should be okay because that's usually far enough away from New Year's Day. Typically, that July meeting is always a problem. This is July 6th, meaning July 4th is a Tuesday. Probably okay. I mean, if not, we can always.
We can always.
Yeah.
I tried to go through all of these dates to make sure that there were no holidays like other than July 4th that were right there. I
Right.
looked at the school calendar that we have
Okay.
for the rest of this school year. Right now, there's nothing conflicting. So,
I guess they're fine. I mean, we would then,
I mean, we can always push them off if we need to, or.
yeah, we can have a motion to approve the dates.
Okay.
Is there a motion? A second? All right, I guess all those in favor, just say aye. Yeah, aye, yeah. I think we're good, so.
Okay.
Let's see. Open meeting to the public. All right, everyone has left. Discussion items, chairs report, we'll hear from Allison next month. I don't have anything to report in the other ones. We do have two minor work resolutions or approvals that were included in your documents. One was from July, one was from November. They've actually been pretty quiet on the on these of late. I don't have them in front of me, but they were been approved. Hopefully we got to see them. So with that, can I get a motion to adjourn? Second? All right, we're done for 2023.
Wow.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.